And then these guys are councilors.
Well, I will do my best.
So he's the director.
I'm not gonna lose sleep. But it's
So
usually.
this gets streamed. So that's what cameras. I guess we're gonna be this presentation.
I'm gonna get blown around here.
I think last time.
I am calling to order the special meeting of the Town of Gibsons Council of July 25th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. And we're honored to be gathered on the traditional territory of the Skokomish Nation. First, we need to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? The motion carries. And we have some minutes to adopt from another special council meeting of June 17th, 2025, moved by Councillor DeAndrade, seconded by Councillor Kroll. All those in favor? Those minutes are adopted. And now we're on to our delegations. We have two somewhat related delegations. Great to have you all here. And the first one is Pam Robertson and Nancy Cottingham-Powell, Community Building Society, presenting their 2024 annual report. Welcome.
It's just like magic, the slides appear. Thank you very much. We're always very grateful for this opportunity to present to council about the highlights of our 2024 year. I always love to start with this slide because it represents the vision that existed and the optimism for creating a wonderful community gathering space at the Gibsons Public Market and the important role the town of Gibsons has played from the very beginning of this project. So we're incredibly grateful, not only from the foundational support, but the ongoing support that we receive from council. So we are setting out, of course, the vision was a vibrant hub of coastal life. And as you know, we created, let me see if I can. Is there?
Turn that on the left-hand side of, there's just a little switch.
Got it. Perfect.
I can drive
Great,
it for you.
thank you very much. We created the Gibsons Community Building Society in order to build and operate the Gibsons Public Market. You know, our mission is all about building a healthy, caring, and thriving community, and the three pillars of our mission are the community hub, the place where we bring people together. We recently did interviews with longtime donors and volunteers that support this project, and there's just no doubt about the key driving force behind the people who support this is the community gathering place. The ability to come together, to connect with the community, to build relationships, make friends, volunteer, a place to give back to the community. So it's overwhelming in the importance of the people who support us. Of course, we also work very hard to create opportunities for entrepreneurs, and Nancy's going to talk about some of the highlights of that, and the work that we do as well in inspiring sustainable behavior for the health of the ocean. Along this journey, we learned that the work we were doing to support the health of the ocean was actually charitable, the education and conservation work that we're doing. So we have a society that got charitable status, Blue Aquamarine Society, and we like to talk about three pillars of our mission there as well. And it's that theme of connecting. We do a lot of connecting our community, and another way we connect is to our ocean waters and the amazing animals and biodiversity there. And we educate and we do conservation work. And so Nancy's going to take you quickly through some highlights for 2024, and then I'll wrap up and we'll take questions after that.
Quick is the relative word here. There's a lot to talk about. So the market continues to be a vibrant hub of coastal life. The new addition in 2024 was the Judy Bubbs Live-In Park and Play Center. And thanks so much to the town of Gibsons for their support of that project and the Len Libbin family for their generous donation. The market is an essential place where people can connect. It's a place where groups gather and we help create social connections that combat social isolation, and people make new friends. Summer night markets, they continue to be a huge success, award-winning success, with 9,000 plus multi-generational people gathering together and generating over $20,000 in local revenue. The other events also connecting people such as the Sunshine Coast Beer Festival, Wellness Festival, and 6 neighborhood nights, which we launched last year that are Friday nights and shoulder seasons. Once again, creating places for connection. We are engaging young kids through cooking classes, and we also have a babysitting service that we've launched to help facilitate young families to enjoy the events. So everybody's got something to do. The merchant level, which is our bustling local market, we lease 6 spaces to local merchants year-round, with over 100,000 customers purchasing items in 2024, generating over $2 million in annual revenues and over $500,000 paid out to salaries and local jobs. We supported other nonprofits through discounted rentals, helping these organizations connect with our community. We presented our first kids market last November, and these are, nurturing those young entrepreneurs, and the kids, the parents, and the customers all had so much fun. We're going to do it again this year. We showcased over 100 vendors and their products at the market during our events. We are going to try and track that economic impact for this year for you. Our demo and Our demo and dines supporting local chefs were very successful, and we're repeating that again this year. We also, we also support the creative community in a big way with year-round ongoing programs such as Saturday Live Music, Art at the Market, and participation in the Sunshine Coast Art Crawl, paying out over $14,000 to musicians last year and over $10,000 to visual artists and chefs. We rebranded, I went too far again, this is touchy, there we go. We rebranded the Nicholas Sontag Tide Pools Aquarium and the Blue Act Marine Society last year, and we had over 7,200 visitors join us at the aquarium. And we had our successful release event and collection events last year with over 100 community volunteers participating. And thanks to the town of Gibson so much for putting the Armour's Beach infrastructure in. And I know this year it was a little scramble to make sure it was done in time because we were a little earlier. So we appreciate that support. We ran Pro Day camps, which was new last year, spring break camps and summer camps with over 176 kids learning all about our local marine world, creating ocean stewards of the future. We partnered with School District 46 to educate over 1,200 students about our local marine world. I just want to point out that's 34% of our school population. Organized Stream to Sea learning modules with salmon in the classrooms in partnership with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and ran a successful salmon release day in May, thanks to TD for support of that event. We kept pulling more debris out of the Gibsons Harbor during our cleanup events with over 3 tons of debris, including this boat hull that Kevin's standing in. And we took a survey video of under the Gibsons Wharf, which I won't play here because it goes on for a few minutes, but I encourage you to have a look at it. There's a lot of work to be done. And as you can see from that snapshot picture, it's not looking so healthy under that wharf. So we could use a lot more money from the grants and community support to do that work. It could go on for years. Somebody said we just have to bring in a dredge, but I don't want to do that. So anyway, we'll figure it out. We are very, very happy to be partnering with you again for 5 years on the Healthy Harbor Project, and we're going to talk more about that, so I won't dive deep. We've got all sorts to say about that. And we launched our first ever climate fair last year. And this was the brainchild of a committee that was sort of an offshoot of our board of directors of Blue Act and our technical advisory committee. And it was very successful. We celebrated collective climate action on the Sunshine Coast with the goal to transform climate anxiety into climate action. We had 25 keynote speakers and guest speakers, 15 exhibitors, 300 plus attendees, and thanks so much to the town of Gibsons for your participation in that, and also for sponsoring the 2025 Climate Talks, which were sort of an offshoot of this fair. And we are planning a 2026 Climate Fair for April 2026, which coincides with Earth Day. And I think that's back over to you.
Just a few comments from the board's perspective. We have the same priorities that we've been working on for many, many years now. We have a terrific board of directors, all volunteers, that help us deliver these priorities along with our staff and our volunteers. So I'll see how I do with clicking this forward. I always like to report to you on how we're doing it. We've set a goal of trying to earn as much money as we possibly can from the facilities, the programs, the admissions. When the business case was originally done, which predates me, the goal was that we would earn 75% of what it costs us to operate the programs and the facility. We've never gotten to that goal, and it was a little bit arbitrary. It's hard to find like benchmarks, but I am pleased to say that we're making progress towards it, hitting almost $500,000 in earned revenue from our facilities here. The third column is, or fourth column, I guess, is looking at the same situation for Blue Act. It's a charity. We're limited on the types of revenue that we can earn, but hoping to get to 50%. Again, we didn't hit that goal this year, but we did improve slightly over the previous year. The flip side of this, if you put these two together and look at it, it means that we earn about 60% of what it takes to operate both these societies, and we fundraise for 40%. So the goal is to try to earn more so we don't have to fundraise quite so extensively. One thing I always like to report to council on is what our debt situation is, because as you know, we ended up with a mortgage at the end of the construction of the Gibsons Public Market. It wasn't intended that way, but construction costs escalated in 2016 during construction. So we hit a high in 2017 of about $1.7 million in debt, and even though we missed some of our targets this year, we were close, but we didn't deliver all of them. We still saw our debt slide under the $1 million mark, so we're very happy that we've continued to make some progress. Why is this so important? Well, it's important because it costs us a lot of money every year to service this debt. It's basically $100,000 between principal and interest. And on the slide I like to track at the bottom is we're almost at $600,000 in interest that we've paid since the inception of the project. As a not-for-profit society, it puts a lot of pressure on us to raise those funds. So this is why this remains a really important priority for us. Our donors, as you know, are incredibly important to us. People make donations in support of it. We have granting organizations that support our work. We also have major events like our gala, which is coming up on October the 4th. And so together, what our donors are doing is they're supporting our vision, in the case of the Building Society, of a vibrant hub of coastal life for all to enjoy. And when we get to looking at marine, the Blue Act Marine Society, people are really passionate about the health of the ocean and also getting children involved from an early stage in becoming stewards of the ocean's health. We do events. We just finished this year's Tide Pools Art Show, and it's a wonderful community event. It's all sorts of, important artists, but also kids and families and everybody decorate shapes for us. This year it was an orca, and we auction them off. And our gala is our most important fundraiser, and we're very pleased to report we had a very successful gala last year. We honored Lisa Hilton, who's shown in the middle at the bottom, but we have very strong community support of our gala, and it's a very important fundraiser presented by TELUS. It also plays a role of connecting our community. People love coming to this event and just catching up with their friends. And lastly, it's a lot of fun. And I also like to give kudos to our volunteers. We have an incredibly dedicated and diverse group of volunteers that are vital to our success. It's impossible to picture all of them here because there's so many. We have probably 150 people that show up over and over again to help us and doing all sorts of activities. And we are very grateful, and also to our staff. I wanted to just share with you important news that while it happened in 2025, it was just after the end of 2024. Len Libben has become very familiar with the work we're doing and the impact that we're having in our community, was aware of the concern I express about the mortgage and the challenge of our mortgage. So he and his family and the Judy Libben Given Fund have committed $400,000 over 5 years, that if we can match that, it's a true match, we have to match it to get the money from him, then we will pay off our mortgage. It's a game changer for us. It honestly is going to make a huge difference. It's not going to be easy because we have to raise that 40% I talked about to cover our costs of operating every year plus the match, but we have done it for the first year. And the people that got involved in the first year match were all involved with the original construction project, and I was involved in fundraising, and the others were all volunteers supporting the build. So we're very excited about this opportunity, and 2 weeks ago, we reduced our mortgage by $160,000, having secured the first year match. So it's really terrific news.
Yeah, so
And
principal's down to about 650,000 or something like that.
it's coming down,
Yep.
so we're very grateful. So that was the presentation that we wanted to make, and be happy, Nancy and I, to answer any questions.
Great, and I've got just a couple of questions about, so is that, is the mortgage with the credit union?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and that's, part of that is we're all looking closely at the credit union these
Yes, we
days
are.
with
Credit union's
the
actually
merger.
been a very important partner to, and there's so many partners that we have, right? That's
Yeah.
another, credit union's been a very important partner.
Great. And so that interest, are they, then did they allow like a lump sum payment for this year for that? Okay, great, so they were being flexible
They
and
were,
Without
Yeah.
penalty.
without a penalty, great.
Yeah.
So,
it's really,
yeah, hopefully that continues as well, as this campaign continues, that
Yes.
generosity from them. And I just wanted to mention too, to clarify to council, I mean, we talk about it in our strategic plan updates, but our sponsorship of the climate talks was related to our strategic plan, and in that we actually had an objective to have some climate public engagement, and the intent always was to kind of have a partnership and not be having to do it on our own at the town. So it made a lot of sense to partner up with Blue Act on this, and I attended the events, and they were great. I think I wonder if maybe they were lumped too close together though, because the attendance for the first one was incredible. And then they started to drop off, and I myself found it like, okay, I've got it was almost every week. I think there might have been a break for one, but like, I wonder if that might be a consideration to space them out a bit, or.
Yeah, so we've got 4 more for the fall,
Yeah.
and maybe it was a little ambitious to do 8 or 9 this of the climate talks this year. So we would definitely take that into consideration for, as I said, we're going to leapfrog, so we're going to do climate fair next year and then the year after. The idea is that those talks kind of come out of requests from people to go deeper into, maybe things that we've introduced at the climate fair that we can't spend more than, half an hour on, then we could spend 2 hours on it at a climate talk the next year.
yeah, it's definitely all focused on helping citizens take action, like positive action for the health of the climate, yeah.
Councillor Thompson.
I just wanted to say how great it is watching the programs develop and change from year to year. And it's nice that it's not repeat, but obviously the community feedback is being heard and doing things like Pro D-Day camps.
Yeah.
Kudos. Yeah, that's great. So thank you. Yeah, just want to make that comment.
We tried to launch an after-school program this last year, but we didn't receive the funding to be able to help us. So we'll continue to look at that as well, because we feel that's a real need within the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Any other questions?
Thank you,
We
Mayor.
get to Healthy Harbors next.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Probably
know.
have questions on that too.
Oh, yeah, well, actually, one question, just a clarification. So the 400,000, if we match another 400, will be 800, and that's it?
Yes, we're continuing our mortgage payments over this period of
Yeah,
time,
I know.
and so sometime between year 4 and 5, we'll be mortgage-free.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if the change to the tide pools, the whole rearrangement, if it helps in fundraising.
Well, it's helped in 2 ways. So already in the first quarter, our attendance at Tide Pools Aquarium has increased quite a bit, significantly from last year. I don't have the percentage in front of me, but it's done very well. We managed to meet or exceed our budget targets for the first quarter, which was not the case last year. So that certainly that visibility within the community has increased, and I'd say the fundraising is tough. We're going out. It's a tough. we don't fit in a lot of traditional categories, and unfortunately, we're not eligible through Blue Act for gaming for various reasons. So we're really leaning into family foundations and other foundations right now because that's where we seem to be the most alignment. So we're out there trying to find those foundations that believe in what we're doing within, animal care, within marine education, and within conservation, and how can we engage them on a more regular basis.
Having said that, our fundraising for Blue Act and tide pools increased quite a bit last year. That's good.
Any more questions before the next presentation? Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Healthy Harbor Project, and welcome Lindsay to join Nancy here for this presentation.
Yeah, so you know who I am now. Lindsay Whitehead is our new conservation manager. So she's been with us since January. Is that right? February, there you go. And Lindsay actually lives in Squamish, and she works remotely and comes here for field work. And we're very lucky to have her. She's, are you done your thesis yet?
I have 1 week's work of 1 week left in it.
She's close. So her thesis is on snakes, nothing to do with marine stuff, but she's a very good project manager when it comes to field work and the kind of conservation work that we're trying to do. So we're very, very pleased to have Lindsay along. We just want to walk you through what's been going on. Obviously, we've got this agreement, this wonderful agreement with the partnership with the town of Gibsons, which we're thrilled to say we renegotiated for a 5-year agreement, which we are in the middle of the first of those 5 years. So we're very, very pleased to be a partner in the work that's being done around making Gibsons an amazing place in terms of that marine aquatic health. And just a reminder of the project overview of what we're trying to accomplish with Healthy Harbor. So we're looking at your recreational lease area, the habitat restoration within that, the showcase of diversity of local marine life, the community engagement and education around that, and the building the regional expertise and capacity. So we tend to focus on the Gibsons Harbor area and that eelgrass, which I'm not sure you're aware is one of the few places in the Hausson Biosphere area where eelgrass actually will naturally grow. And so it's a critical habitat to maintain. And obviously what we're trying to help you guys understand is what's that benchmark, and is it going down or is it increasing? So I think from the first survey that was done in 2019. We're about to do this year another full survey of the perimeter, and Lindsay's going to talk about the cool way we're going to do that this year. But it's so important for so many different reasons, and it's that nearshore habitat, for the fish habitat and juvenile fish, and all the carbon sequestration and the natural filtration. So I do want to let you guys know that I am out there trying to find more funding to help support this project and the conservation work that we're doing. And once again, I'm leaning into some of the bigger foundations. So I'm actually going to talk to Michelle about that. Is she here? No. Anyway, I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay, and she's going to walk you through the actual 2024 accomplishments and what we're doing in 2025.
Well, it's great to be here. It's nice to meet you all. Thank you for the introduction, Nancy. Unfortunately, Kevin, who is our dive safety officer, was unable to make it today, so I'm going to be reporting on his work in 2024. So in 2024, we went to survey the buoys that are currently in the voluntary no anchor zones. This was off of Armours Beach. Fortunately, these buoys were in great condition. However, we did have to remove some marine growth and install new shackles on a few of the buoys. Concurrently, while we were doing these surveys, we also assessed these zones to look for signs of scouring, moorage, anchoring debris, or other impacts on the eelgrass beds. And it's really reassuring to see that we didn't actually find any signs that vessels are anchoring in these eelgrass beds. So it looks like people are respecting these voluntary no anchor zones. We also did a we conducted components of a level 3 eelgrass survey. So to do this, we picked a 60-meter transect line and conducted 30 surveys in randomly assessed locations along this transect line. We calculated the chute density, number of chutes per meter squared, chute length, and the average blade width. These were all combined into a calculation for the leaf area index. This leaf area index on its own is not a very valuable number. However, it's incredibly valuable when you compare it year in, year out. The leaf area index provides a photosynthetic productivity estimate to determine how much eelgrass is in an area and the health of the eelgrass and the density. So this was the first year we've ever conducted the leaf area index, so it doesn't really add much value. However, next year and in future years, we'll be able to compare this to assess the health of our eelgrass beds in comparison to 2024. As I'm sure many of you are aware, one of the major threats to eelgrass beds is marine debris. So the marine debris falls on the seafloor and limits the amount of light that can reach these beds. And eelgrass beds rely on quite a bit of sunlight in order to grow, which is why we find them mostly in the subtidal area. So we focused mostly on the Gibson, well, I'm jumping the gun a little bit there. So this was known as the Gibsons Harbor Cleanup, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. This ran October 18th to 20th, and during this event, we removed 2.13 tons of debris, mostly from the subtidal area and the eelgrass beds off of Breakwater Beach. This was done obviously in partnership with the town of Gibsons, but also with more support from the Pacific Salmon Foundation, Gibsons Landing Harbor Authority, Sunshine Coast Tourism, Freedom Diving Systems, and Coast Bin Rentals. And all disposal was done at the Seashore landfill under the Good Samaritan Act. Ultimately, we would like to expand into water quality testing. In 2024, we basically put down some foundation feelings to see what that would look like. We've been reaching out to some partners to discuss the feasibility and the prices of equipment. Unfortunately, it looks like quite a lot more money will be required from external sources in order to move forward with this water quality monitoring. The aim of this would be to look at potential impacts to water impacted by commercial recreational vessels on the harbor or anything from the municipal outflow. And it's particularly important in a community like Gibsons that prides itself around the aquifer, the incredible aquifer that we have here. There's also some opportunities to potentially work with the Squamish Nation as they've expressed some concerns around water quality and shellfish monitoring. So in 2025, we plan to move forward with these collaborations and continuing to have these conversations as eventually there will be an avenue in which we can pursue this water quality monitoring. Ultimately, the aim of this water quality monitoring would to be a citizen science project where we get the community involved in protecting our water. So, while it's great to talk about what we've done, let's talk about what we're going to do. So in 2025, this year, we plan to implement a voluntary no anchor zone between the Gibsons Breakwater and the Green Lady Marker, given the success of the previous no anchor zone in Armours Beach. We also plan to complete a full eelgrass perimeter survey on the Gibsons Breakwater and Armours Beach area. So I'm going to stop here and briefly talk about this. Our plans have materialized faster than our presentation between the time that we submitted this presentation. At the moment, we do have plans for a drone, a high quality drone to come out and fly over the harbor area. This drone company that we've contacted has previously mapped eelgrass beds in the Tofino area with considerable success. We may have some issues depending on the depth of the eelgrass in the outside perimeter, but we have planned to address those by having a diver in the water, tugging along a GPS just to draw out the perimeter. This will be a bit of an exploratory method, but we're really excited about what this could provide, one in terms of up-to-date imagery for the harbor, but two, also the most accurate eelgrass survey estimates to date. We plan to continue our Gibsons Harbor cleanup. Currently, the dates are secured over September 20th, which also happens to be Worldwide Cleanup Day. So, convenient. We continue to plan water quality testing and eelgrass restoration projects, continually just writing grants, hoping something sticks. And we're also discussing the possibility of kelp, though a few more conversations need to go into that one. Research and other long-term conservation initiatives. Conservation, unfortunately, is not short-term. while it's great to do things for a few years, we need to continue on and on and on. So long-term conservation recommendations here. These are what we're aspiring to do. Ultimately, we hope to restore and transplant eelgrass to develop more healthy eelgrass beds. Actually, Gibsons has some of the most healthiest and in dense eelgrass beds in the most dense concentration out of anywhere in Howe Sound, but it's the carbon sequestration potential of eelgrass is incredible, so we need to continue to promote these. Ultimately, we want to engage the community more by having more citizen science initiatives and hands-on opportunities for the community to be involved in conservation work. We are exploring kelp restoration for its filtration capacity. We're also looking to develop a Healthy Harbors user guide in conjunction with the town of Gibsons. We are exploring that bivalve shellfish monitoring and water sampling. And ultimately, these are all going to be put forward in recommendations towards a recreational water lease bylaw.
And the one other thing that we didn't put into this report is that we are doing green crab monitoring as well, in combination with the DFOs. So that's something that we're hoping to never find them, but if we do, that will help hopefully preserve what eelgrass we have, and they're not going to sit there and destroy it. We'll catch it early because we're out there 6-7 months of the year now.
Yeah, 6 months of the year.
Yeah. So, and that's all done with Department of Fisheries and Oceans.
Fortunately, no green crabs have been found anywhere in Howe Sound yet.
Yeah, so we monitored last year for I think about 4 months, and now we're doing 6 months this year. So there have been some up in the Pender Harbor area and in the Salt Spring area. So we're suspecting they're being moved around by boaters. So we just need to be wary because of the harbor and obviously the marinas, to be careful that they're not being brought into the area. Okay, so we're very happy to field any questions you may have.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Hats off to the divers measuring grass underwater. I can imagine. Do the eelgrass zones show up on charting apps like Navionics?
No, unfortunately, to the best of my knowledge, don't quote me on this as I'm not entirely sure on that. I believe that they don't show up on these.
But the thing with the drone monitoring is that we are taking photographs, and that will show the eelgrass beds in the shallows for sure, and then we'll probably have to hand draw the line for the depths, and that's why we're going to put the diver in the water as well. So to date, you can see the earlier pictures, we're having to hand draw those in, and we'll actually be able to see the eelgrass growing from the height that the drones are taking the photos.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Kroll.
Thank you. This is more actually, through you, Mayor White, to Councillor Thompson's question. I know on paper charts, eelgrass beds usually are indicated, but I was just looking on Navionics, and they're not indicated on Navionics. So that there seems to be a bit of an anomaly there that they're not. Now, actually, it's perhaps you have to select the settings you want in Navionics, and perhaps if I went into the settings and asked it to indicate eelgrass beds, it would. But on paper charts, it does show.
Okay, that's good to know.
Councillor D'Andrade.
Thank you. Yeah, fantastic. I was so happy to read this report. Just to see the progression over the years and the involvement of the community, and more importantly, well, everything's important, but just creating the citizen science, because I think, down the line, I'm always concerned if the green crab comes, because they would eat the whole grass is their favorite environment. So we would need manpower for that. One question, I was in a way disappointed with the leaf area index, because I understand over time they would say, well, the eelgrass is growing or not, but I was puzzled how this number 800 doesn't give any idea. Is it in good state, reasonable, fair, awesome? So that was my request. Is it possible to find at least the average, what it means? Because I felt like, okay, we have this index over the years, we're going to know if it's growing or not, but I don't know. I just find bizarre in a way that this number doesn't give anything, so. And,
We'll do a we'll reach out to Kevin and see if we can do a comparison. If he can't, then we'll see if we can find smart people who can for us.
well, it's not a comparison over the years because that will be done. I would just like, this index obviously is measuring the size, so there has to be some ratio.
Yeah.
You know, does it mean that this 800 means that Eelgrass is in good state? I don't know. I was like, I hope we could see something and not have to wait. Well, one suggestion, if I may, is just to have the map location for the 2024 Eelgrass Habitat Survey, right? Because
Just to show it where
yeah,
it was.
just to
Okay.
show how we did with the Armors Beach, because it's really good to know where it is, right? And just for, but
Well,
thank
that's the
you.
cool thing about this drone footage is she happens to have a father who's worked, but he's not going to do it, but the person who's helping her is her professor right now, and they can knit together the different photos so that we're going to get
Yeah.
a map of what it looks like all knit together, right? Isn't that cool?
This will actually, yeah, the output of this will actually be a GIS layer, so we can just plug that in onto any GIS software.
So you can put it on your GIS map. Are you guys on Esri? Yeah.
Go to acting CAO.
Yes, thank you. Through the mayor, so just to follow up on that, we do have the current eelgrass bed that's along the foreshore towards Armors. That is on our web mapping, at least our internal facing web mapping. I'm not sure if it's on the publicly facing one as well, so it'd be great to be able to expand that. And then I was just curious if there's a timeline for when the mapping would be done this year. We've got a project that we're working on for some restoration of the foreshore and would be relevant for that project to just be able to pass along to the consulting team if there's an update or if it's been expanding, so we can take that into account.
Currently, the flyover date is tentatively scheduled for July 11th, but we can be quite flexible on that.
And then how long will it take them to do the stitching and all that sort of stuff, do you know?
I would expect maximum 2-week turnaround, but personally, knowing the person that was working on this, it'll be a few days.
Since it's the summer, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully by September. The other thing, Trevor, is that we're in conversation with the Rotary Club about the Armors Beach expansion and that impact on the new wharfs on the eelgrass beds there. So we're in active conversation with Ilaria, and Kevin's involved in that as well.
One more.
Andretti.
Thank you. One suggestion, we have the marine, well, the How Sound, right? The Biosphere has the Marine Stewardship Initiative, and they have all these layers. So I'm sure you guys are exchanging data, but I think it's a good idea maybe to put in a report for information because you can see the whole sound and where the eelgrass is all over and green crab, anything that they are researching.
So we're actually working with Ruth on another project
Yeah.
at McNabb Creek. So do you want to just tell them quickly about that?
Yeah, so we're working with Ruth for the marine to update the marine reference guide for the McNabb Creek area. There's been diver reports that it's a particularly understudied biodiverse area, so we're looking to update the reports to get more accurate accounts on what species are actually out in that zone.
So we're actively sharing information that we have, and we'll definitely pass this on to them because they actually were responsible for that original 2019 mapping, I believe, through subcontractors, right?
Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for back-to-back presentations even, so, yeah, and this was, and thanks for your flexibility in scheduling this meeting too. We didn't want to cram you in with other delegations and presentations and give council some time to ask questions, so this worked out well, I think. Thank you again.
Trevor, we'll reach out to you when these reports are done so that you can touch bases, okay?
Now on to adopting a bylaw. So I guess this means, shockingly, the Ministry of Transportation didn't have any concerns with arcades. Well, at least they got back relatively quickly and wasn't sitting on someone's desk for months on end, yeah, for them to confirm that they don't have concerns. So let's get it done with then. Is there a motion to adopt this bylaw? Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? The zoning amendment bylaw to allow arcades is adopted. And sorry, I should have brought this up earlier, but as long as there's no objections, just on the order of administration reports, I'd like to bring up 6.4 to 6.2, just so we can pair up the infrastructure services. So to look at 6.1 first, though, this is the Disaster Resilience and Innovation Fund grant application for the School Road Reservoir seismic upgrades. That there's a report associated with this and a recommendation. Are there any, is there any introduction from staff?
Just very briefly, thank you, Mayor. This should be familiar. It would have been presented as part of the budget process as well. So this is a project that we have in the 5-year financial plan identified as a capital project for next year. We had anticipated 60% grant funding when we put that budget together. Fortunately, the DRIFT program would fund up to 100%. So it's even better news than what we were anticipating. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, but the language in the recommendations is specific for the language that would support the application.
Well, we will be happy to apply for 100%. Is this a question? Okay, question from Councillor DeAndretti.
Yeah, thank you. I wonder if the town was successful in getting feedback from the Squamish Nation, because I think it's a prerequisite, right?
Through the mayor, there's a question in the grant submission as to whether there's been any consultation, given there's no groundbreaking involved and there's no environmental impact because it's an enclosed reservoir. We don't see it as a project that we would typically have referred to Squamish Nation. But so what's due at the end of this week is a submission. It's a notice of interest, or expression of interest. If we pass that first screening, then we would be asked to submit a full application. Between the expression of interest and the full application, we would just submit through the Squamish Connect portal a notification that we're proceeding with this, and if there's any comments, then we would address that as part of the grant application, the full application.
Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. Certainly applaud this application. But I noticed in some of the documentation where there were, in your report, you provided links. There is also, under the categories that you can apply for, there's multiple things that we might potentially qualify for. So I'm just wondering, can you only apply, like can a municipality only apply for one grant?
Good question.
Through the mayor, I believe that's the case. I had not looked into it at this point. We've got a pretty full workload, and I think that it's certainly a program that is recurring and one that I've also had success with in the past. A previous organization getting grants covered under, so it's something that we'll continue to look for projects that we have within our plans to fit within this grant.
Councillor Kroll.
Just follow up to that. I noticed in the application documentation that foreshore restoration was one of the categories that you could apply for. So I'll leave that with you.
Aren't we still waiting don't we have a grant for that we've been
Yeah, through the
needing
mayor,
to spend for a couple of years?
Yeah, we do have a
It seems
grant
like a
that
long time.
we're moving along on. I think it would be a great program if there's potential future foreshore restoration work, say around the breakwater or Georgia Beach or something like that. As we identify other areas that we would identify, this would certainly be a program that we could look to get some funding through.
I'd like to move the recommendations that staff be directed to apply for the Disaster Resilience and Innovative Funding Program for $1.1 million.
And that's seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? The motion carries. And then relatedly, moving up 6.4, This is the school road seismic upgrades contract amendment for detailed design. And this is a late item to the agenda, so I'll ask staff to introduce this too.
Thank you, Mayor White. Yeah, apologies for the late item on this one. This just came to light late last week that the contract was solicited through a request for proposal. My recollection, I just had assumed that it had been approved by council. The contract was, sorry, I would have assumed that it would have been signed by council, was actually signed by the CAO. And therefore, for us to amend the contract, which was included as a potential possibility within the RFP. So from a procurement process, are covered through the process that we went through to secure the consultant, but we just need the contract amendment to be approved by council due to the dollar value of it. And this would allow us to advance the design of the improvements to the reservoir efficiently and have detailed plans and cost estimate to support the full grant application that was just supported. Generally, the more refined the design and the better your cost estimates, your higher likelihood of success with the grant application. So we're hoping that we could move this along through the summer so that we're ready to submit a robust application. Happy to take any questions if there's. Great.
Councillor D'Andrade.
Thank you, Mayor. I see that the contract amendment, the 160 is included on the financial plan on the 25-29, but this will be from tax or it's through grant funding?
Through the mayor, I don't have the financial plan as far as how it's funded, but it would be through the utility fees. So it's through the water. So it wouldn't come out of general taxation. It would have been financed. And if the director of finance was here, he'd probably correct me. But I would assume through some combination of reserves and the operating funds of the water utility.
Any more questions? Councillor Kroll is moving the option 1 recommendation, I assume, seconded by Councillor D'Andrade. All those in favor? The motion carries. And we are on to the original 6.2, which is the Charming Creek Restoration Phase 1 contract award. And we have had a chance to look at this staff report, so I mean, I think it's probably straightforward unless... Yeah, are there any questions? Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White, and through you. I can only suspect because of the area that's involved that there's going to be archaeological involvement.
Through the mayor, we have an archaeological consultant who's been involved with the project. They've gone through and done their preliminary assessments. They've been involved with that whole process. Part of the reason why these particular sites were selected for phase 1 to complete with this year is they're outside of the areas that would require a permit to site alteration permit. So that application has been submitted for that. And we are planning to complete that work for some of the other areas where there would be the need for a different level of archaeological involvement in subsequent phases, say 2026. So this work has been vetted and supported, and we're fine to proceed as currently permitted.
Thank you.
So the recommended option is with a 25% contingency. And then there's an option without a contingency. Okay, Councillor D'Andrade is moving option 1. Yeah, seconded by Councillor Kroll. Any further discussion? All those in favor? The motion carries. And now on to the Planning Department. We have Phase 3 Christensen lands, rezoning for a rental housing development on municipal land. And there is a multi-itemed staff report here too that council's had a chance to look at. And there are options on page 9 of the staff report, but I'll go to staff to introduce this.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I have an introductory presentation, and we have Jim from the Kiwanis Society and Kevin from Spain here to answer questions as well. Yeah. So this zoning and OCP amendment proposal is to support development of rental housing on the town-owned lands located at 901/917 O'Shea Road, just west of the Phase 1 and 2 developments that were built in partnership with the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society. Phase 1 at Shaw Road is built and occupied, and Phase 2 is under construction. And Phases 1 and 2 together include 73 mixed market rental homes and a daycare. So this Phase 3 proposal focuses on the remaining western portion of the property, which is currently treed, as you can see in the mixed site plan and air photo, and is subject to a 10% park dedication requirement. The proposal is for a 6-story rental apartment building that delivers 78 rental homes with a unit mix for both seniors and family housing. The affordability breakdown follows BC Housing's model from deeply subsidized to near market. A 10-meter tree buffer and dedicated park is proposed along the western edge and will reinforce and protect the natural boundary to White Tower Park. And that's ensuring that light intrusion and so on don't cause losses of trees in the park. A traffic and parking study by Urban Systems supports a reduced parking ratio for Phase 3 per the location near transit, active travel networks and services, and based on the need precedents for low income and seniors housing. That's existing projects in Gibsons and other comparable municipalities. So the delivery partnership with Kiwanis Housing Society and BC Housing strengthens the project viability and social value. This map shows the existing OCP land use plan context. The site is highlighted in yellow. That's the whole property, with the east portion of the site in blue indicating its designation of public and community uses, and the orange Phase 1 and 2 portion indicates a high-density residential land use. This is the existing zoning map, and the site is zoned Comprehensive Development Area 5 with Sub-Area 1, which is shown in blue dots, supporting community uses similar to a public assembly zone, and Sub-Area 2 with the orange dots zoned for high-density residential use. So in the report, 2 bylaw amendments are proposed. First is the OCP amendment to explicitly allow not-for-profit rental housing on land designated public and community uses. And second, zoning bylaw amendment enabling rental apartment use, increasing height to 22 meters, increasing the total unit cap across all of the 3 phases to 160 units, and supporting reduced setbacks and parking ratios. So referrals were sent to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit, SD46, SCRD, Vancouver Coastal Health, Coast Car Co-op, BC Transit, the Fire Department and Town Departments. And to date, we've received the comments that are summarized on this slide. The Fire Department supports the proposed building height with specs to ensure appropriate fire access. Infrastructure recommends maximizing tree retention, which has been aided with plan revisions providing a park buffer and trail access through the south property line, continuing from Phases 1 and 2. And I think we've also got a tree retention plan that can be addressed through the building permit. Finance noted no negative financial plan implications, and a referral was made to the Coast Car Co-op given that there's an existing car share proposed with Phases 1 and 2, and comments were received after the agenda was published. Where are we? The CCC has flagged in reference to the parking study that an agreement has still not yet been secured with the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society for the required car share vehicles in Phase 2. Hopefully that's in progress. It recommends a 3rd vehicle placement for the site in Phase 3 to adequately service the tenants in the additional 78 units, noting that data supports that. And supports use where the vehicles are clustered near affordable housing and services. And so the development supports multiple policy priorities and advances Council's strategic plan by adding new nonprofit rentals without requiring a town capital contribution, and incorporates a diverse affordability mix, including seniors housing. The amendments are aligned with the direction of the forthcoming OCP. Additionally, infrastructure at White Tower Park is preserved with a 10% park dedication and treed buffer. The proposal locates high-density housing near services, reducing vehicle needs for residents and making the project more financially and environmentally sustainable. And staff confirmed no negative impact on sewer capacity or the 5-year financial plan. So next steps for option 1, or in option 1, would be to hold a public hearing in mid-July before council considers third reading. And after third reading, again, Ministry of Transportation and Transit approval is required before adoption of the bylaw amendments. And option 1 is to work toward the construction-ready status for BC housing funding, giving first and second readings and directing staff to schedule a public hearing. Option 2 is to reject the proposal. And I'm happy to answer questions. Thanks.
Questions from council, and I recognize the contractor is here too, and the applicant is also here, so they're available to answer questions as well. Councillor Kroll?
Thank you, Mayor White, and through you. And this would be a question for the developer. Is this the only land you considered? And were there any other areas?
I should probably answer that, because, it's, everything goes through the chair. So there were other areas, but they're not owned by the town. So I think, this is a high priority for the town, nonprofit housing. So we're always looking at these other opportunities, working with nonprofits, potentially working with the school district even on some of their lands. We have a land strategy, of course, and these discussions are going all the time. But none of these were ready to kind of, whether it's a land transfer or them working directly with Kiwanis, none of those opportunities were forthcoming in time for this opportunity, the Community Housing Fund. I've made the recent observation too that I had to go to Victoria for a meeting related to policing, and it's pretty clear the new theme in Victoria is 2 words: fiscal responsibility. I was just sharing with our director of planning the other day that I'm really excited that that we are meeting this timeline on this one, because some of those other ones where the discussions are still going, it's hard to know if a community housing fund is going to be maintained at the same level in the next couple of years, because government's really cutting back right now. So I'm glad we've got this opportunity to jump on right now. And I know also, I'll acknowledge that there were some other potential sites that we were all more interested in, even by their proximity, but for example, proximity to Kiwanis' current site operations, but those just weren't, they weren't going to be available anytime soon. Other questions? Councillor D'Andrade?
Thank you, Mayor. I see that the car parking requirements are met, right? Exactly the same. I also see that the urban systems report talk about biking parking, but I don't know exactly what is the proposal. Could you let us know?
Okay. Go to staff for that.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. The bicycle parking, staff haven't looked in depth at that because it's not, there's no request to reduce it in the zoning bylaw amendment in the proposal. So as it stands, once we get to the building permit stage, they would have to meet the bylaw requirements in the zoning bylaw.
And so there's no parking variance related to that, where bicycle parking is, like as there was in the first two phases or one of the two phases? We should just clarify that there is extra bicycle parking because of a parking variance next door, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there were reductions in those phases, and those would stand for those phases in whatever way they're written in that variance. And unless that variance affects the third phase, which I don't think it does, then there would be no reduction.
Okay, thank you. You had a follow-up, Councillor DeAndretti? Yeah.
It's another question.
Go ahead and do another question, yeah.
Thank you. That regard the trees, the buffer zone, I'm a little bit like, I don't fully understand because the fire department is asking that the landscape and trees on the west side of the property be fire smart. And when I see the drawings, I see just few trees, but then we said, the report also said that they would retain the trees. So I'm just wondering how this will work with fire smart.
I'll go.
Thank you. Through the mayor, so we did just receive a fire retention plan, or tree retention plan. I think we'll have to review that as staff and kind of weigh the balance between what the fire department has recommended and the kind of the intention of that buffer and the urban forest plan for preservation of the intact forest. I think that there is some opportunity to improve the overall fire smart condition of that area just by cleaning up some of the underbrush and doing some thinning to allow more light, to allow some vegetation to grow. It's quite dry and there's a lot of duff. So I think through a bit of forest management, we can address the majority of the fire department's concerns just with the trees that are there currently. But we have regular correspondence with the fire smart coordinator in the region, and we could look at that area specifically.
Councillor Kroll.
I think I'm actually good at this point.
Did I see? Yeah, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. At this stage of where we're at in this, well, I'll go ahead and ask the question. There is going to be a second daycare? Did I see that?
That's
No,
the first I've
that
heard
was
of it.
Okay, so it was in the first building, yeah.
Phase 2.
Pardon?
Phase 2 has a daycare.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. I just thought I saw something and I wasn't sure if it was coming to, so no, that kills my next question, so that's perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this has 78 units, so that's the focus of this one would be totally on housing. Yeah, Councillor DeAndretti.
Thank you. Just a follow-up on the tree. So just for me to understand, the plan of retaining tree can totally change based on the feedback from the fire department.
Go ahead.
Thank you, and through the mayor. I think we would, it's not necessarily say what the fire department recommends will just become the outcome. There's gonna have to be some coordination of efforts and intentions with that area and some further discussion around that. I think from our perspective, from staff's perspective, the intention would be to retain the trees that are there. I think we need to just hear what the fire department's concerns are and ultimately work with Fire Smart to identify how we can best preserve the trees while maintaining the safety of the site. And I'm sure there's a balance there that falls short of clearing the whole trees out and then planting landscaping. And that's certainly not the intention, and the expectation is that buffer will be preserved. It'll just have to be done so in a way that's gonna be fire smart.
I see Councillor Kroll, and then, yeah, but I just want to I'll just add a quick follow-up to this. I'm curious about this too. I mean, if this is a concern, did this come up in phase 2 as well? Because, I mean, this is the same kind of area and there's trees right beside phase 2 and phase 1. So did this already come up with the fire department and it's being worked on? I'll go to planning about this.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I can add some context that in the proposal, there's the retained tree buffer, which is the idea is to keep standing trees, because as you clear trees adjacent, we expect some loss. So the idea is that we don't lose trees in the park. If they're going to fall, they'd be on the site. Also, there's a planted buffer of edge species, like a native planting along the buffer to provide some buffering to the retained trees. And then there's also a landscape plan that is yards for so there's stages of buffer, including open space between the building and the retained trees. And sorry, that's the same as phase 2.
Councillor Kroll.
Thank you. Parking is always a big issue, and I'm just wondering if any consideration has been given. I know underground parking is prohibitively expensive, but I'm just wondering if any consideration has been given to putting solar over parking.
Well, it's open parking, so you mean like there'd be kind of panels on poles, or?
Exactly, like you see in a lot of urban areas where they have massive parking lots. What they've done is created solar panels above the parking, which, for example, in the winter, rather than people having to come out and scrape their cars are protected by the solar panels. But you're also, it's a bit of an environmental trade-off when you're losing trees and you're offering at least something else in context that's green.
Well, I see, I'm just looking at a fairly basic drawing here, and I'm seeing kind of a landscape plan. The landscape plan's not done yet, right? But roughly, the architect has put in some landscaping in those areas where instead there could be solar panels. So, it would be a very different look. And it'd be a different cost, I'm sure. But yeah, I haven't heard that come up in the discussion so far.
You could put solar panels on the roof.
Kevin, could you just, yeah. Yeah, to me, and again, Councillor Kroll, you mentioned a massive parking lot where this has been done before. Well, this isn't a massive parking lot for sure. We should be clear about that. But yeah, to me, yeah, it would make more sense to put them on the roof instead of having to create their own structures in a parking lot. But has that been? I'll ask. Kevin is here from Spaney, so I'll ask him that question.
We have never been asked about solar. It's not something that we've ever been asked to do in any of the projects that we do with BC Housing, even though they have. They have their heating and cooling. Well, cooling is most of their concern right now in the projects. But the buildings have to be solar ready. But we've never ever had to put solar in any of the projects that we've done. Not saying that it can't happen. It is something that we could do if that's what you want. But it's...
Yeah. I don't think it's just following up on what Kevin's saying, I've never seen it before. B is part of what's offered from the Community Housing Fund. Their whole goal is to try to keep rents down and costs down as much as possible. I think, what we should probably consider is though, and maybe it's something that could it be solar designed in a way that's solar adaptable? If funding did come up for Kiwanis to apply for down the road, that wouldn't be housing funding, but some other kind of BC Hydro funding or something that might be available to nonprofits. It'd make a lot of sense down the road that all this nonprofit housing is being built right now, and without solar. So maybe, yeah, I'll go to Kevin for that.
Yeah, it's. Anything's possible. We make it. All the buildings are solar ready right now, right? So. Yeah, it's possible down the road. It can be set up. The roofing, it's a flat roof, so it's going to be easy if you wanted to do it. I wouldn't think putting it in the landscape, down at the lower level on the ground, is the right idea. The roof for sure, which is pretty simple. So.
Might get shaded too by a 6-story building. You'd have to build really high poles in order to, Yeah, Councillor Kroll.
Just in follow-up and for sort of rationalization behind my question was, people always sort of react when trees come down. So I was just looking for something that you could say, hey, the project is doing this, which is a green initiative.
Yeah, I guess in my take on it, I'm looking at this map and having some landscaping in the parking, I think people,
No,
I think the
I
public
certainly
will be
agree
more.
the roof would be more practical.
Yeah.
And I had
Having-
forgotten it is a flat roof. I was thinking more peaked roof and you're going to have limited exposure.
I think Councillor DeAndrade still, is next, yeah.
Just to confirm that before we vote, after the public hearing, we would have the landscape plan with us and the results of whatever the town with the fire department figure out, just for us to have a
Sorry, do
better
you mean
idea.
for third reading, or do you mean for like the building permit stage?
Well, usually when
Because you're
we,
just saying after, yes, after for sure, but when after? I mean, immediately, I think it'd be more like the
Before
building
we
permit
vote.
stage. Planning?
Yeah, it's the, this portion of the property, because it's public assembly, is not included in a development permit area currently. Depending when it goes for building permit, it could be following our OCP update. But yeah, as it's just a zoning amendment and adopting the zoning bylaw and those provisions in that and the OCP amendment, there's no plan for a landscape plan before the building permit or the proposal funding.
So that'll come at the building permit stage.
sorry, we will come to council for forming
Uh,
character.
Does it come to council?
I would say that's a good question, depending on its timing and whether it has a DP requirement. Otherwise, I think that would be up to council to request as its town land.
I mean, I think it's a completely separate consideration than what we're looking at for the rezoning here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we should probably make sure we're focused on the task at hand here. It's down the road. It might be delegated to staff though too, which I'm completely confident with. I don't do landscape design myself, so that's correct. Like it might be something that happens at the staff level, the building permit, depending on some factors that still haven't been determined yet.
Yeah, if there's no development permit, it's kind of unique. It could be through staff unless council wants it to come to council.
Yeah, I haven't seen council kind of really get deep into changing around landscape plans before. I guess we could if we wanted to, but Councillor DeAndrade?
Yeah, I think I would like to just see the report because this is a big area. This is an area that has been under the radar. The residents are concerned with the forest at the same time with fire. So I wouldn't mind when the staff is ready, I just would like to see a report. So I'm aware.
We'll take that under advisement right now, though it's just not the decision in front of us right now.
that's fine.
Councillor Kroll?
Thank you.
To Councillor D'Andretti's point, what we're really doing now is looking at an amendment to the existing zoning. So I'll move option 1.
Okay, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. Any discussion? And option 1, to be clear, has got a few different parts to it, so it's not right on our agenda. I've got it in front of me, so I'll summarize it. It's first and second reading for the zoning amendment bylaw, and also that staff be directed to schedule a public hearing. And that's the plan right now, is that public hearing would be scheduled, and then we would have consideration of third reading right after that. Coming soon. So that's the motion. It's not in the wording I said, I was just summarizing. But, no, I don't. I'm trying to summarize it in clear language too, for if there's people watching. So, because the official wording isn't totally clear. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That motion carries. So we're moving on to next steps on this proposal. And now we are just on to announcing the next meeting. Our next meeting of council is July 8th, 2025 at 3:30. And I also want to note, Andrew, is this your last meeting with us? It's close to it. Okay, 2 more. But we do, yeah, so we do want to recognize you right now because it's that week. You had some recognitions, a few recognitions last night at graduation, and Councillor Kroll's going to speak to that. And I just had some thoughts on the help that you've provided us here too. I was just reflecting on the panic that used to envelop this room before meetings when it came to IT. It's like, I had to really think back hard about that. I was like, yeah, it used to be kind of, yeah. You never experienced it, I don't think, because as soon as Andrew came here, and this relates to some of the things I said at the grad ceremony last night too. It's just like, the calm came over. It was like he was able to deal with the crisis that we were in when it came to IT, and made everyone else here a lot calmer. And our meetings have kind of transformed, like very, very much. And thank you to your help looking after our new IT system. And thank you. Tracy left the meeting early, but I think it was her brilliant idea as well. Yeah. Which was really, and that to me connects back to our youth program too, and bringing in youth. Just the fact that Tracy even thought of that like, let's bring someone from the high school in to help us with which was brilliant. And Andrew, you've been perfect to fill the role and help. And I do want to I want to mention too that sometimes students who've been representatives here or helped us out will ask for letters of reference for anything, for post-secondary or other opportunities work from the mayor's office, and be happy to, if you just send out an email if you ever need one, and we can process that for you. Councillor Kroll, I'd like to make some comments too.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor White. Last night, both Mayor White and I were at the Elfie grad, and I was incredibly proud of the level of scholarship the students represented. There was, I think, almost 100 in the graduating class. 42 of them received special bursaries and awards. And our Andrew Maxwell did quite well for himself. He received the Andy and Tula Maragos bursary, which is for someone going into film or broadcast journalism. He received the Rotary Club of Gibsons CBC Beachcomber Scholarship, again for post-secondary studies in TV, radio, or journalism. The Sunshine Coast Endowment for the Visual Arts, which was the one that I was able to present Andrew. He received the District Authority Scholarship and the June Wilson Memorial Scholarship. And then to top it all off, the high school burned down many years ago.
Not last night.
No, well, it was hot. It was hot enough the high school could have burned down. But when the high school burned down, there was very little left of the trophy case. And what was left was this mangled blob, which has become a very important award because it's referred to as the aggregate award. And it's not even presented every year, my understanding. It's presented to the individual that is considered to be the top student. And Andrew received that. Also, last night,
Melissa also cleaned up, and we'll give her kudos when she's here in person. Yeah.
time. And the other person who was awarded last night, he wasn't there to receive the award, was Cale Reed. And Cale had applied for a scholarship. He didn't get it initially, but the people that review the scholarship asked him to resubmit. He resubmitted, and he received a $6,000 scholarship towards his further education. So, people who sit in this chair do great things. And I'm only sorry that Andrew was sitting in the back corner and not here. Anyway, thank you very much,
He's
Andrew.
much
It's
more
been-
valuable back there.
Well,
Yeah.
be
I'm
in-
not sorry.
I'll be in trouble without Andrew.
Yeah.
And, when you go around town, you almost suspect that there's 4 or 5 Andrews, because everywhere you go, there's Andrew. You go to Coast Cable, there's Andrew. You go to Smoke on the Water, there's Andrew. You go to the public market volunteering, there's Andrew. Gingerbread
Rotary.
contest, there's Andrew.
And Rotary.
Rotary, there's Andrew. It's, yeah. So congratulations and wishing you every success.
Thanks for coming back for 2 more meetings. You're not off the hook yet. Yeah, but yeah, it's just still, we'll recognize. Councillor DeAndrade.
Yeah, all of the above what councillors have said. And what I also appreciate is the smile. And you never feel tired. I never see you with a tired face. So whether you are or not volunteering for all of this, I find amazing. You're always happy and willing to do everything. And enduring all these council meetings that, I'll tell you, it can be like long. So I was curious, how many hours did you, are you tracking your hours?
Yep, yeah, I'd have to add them all up. I do them monthly, but yeah, I mean, I've been every single one, I think, for 2.5 years, I think. So, I don't know, we can do the math, but probably significant, I suppose.
Bring it next time.
I'll bring it, yeah, next meeting I'll calculate everything.
So thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Councillor DeAndrade wants data. He wants the hard data.
Well,
Yeah.
because it is impressive.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's
yeah.
going to be on a big number.
Yeah.
I should also let you know that last night I went to bed at 3 a.m. So went up and still here.
And here he is with a smile. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, with that, let's adjourn this meeting. Councillor Kroll moves, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. All those in favor? The motion carries.